Now, the Nelson Mandela Bay's ambitious multi-billion rand integrated public transport system has collapsed into near total dysfunction. It comes according to Ground Up then. What began as a major public transit overhaul, including buses purchased for the 2010 FIFA World Cup, today operates a mere 6 buses, with more than a dozen idling at depots, and others just stranded at a dealership due to unpaid repair bills. Recent refurbishment efforts costing 33 million rand back in 2024, plus an additional 21 million the year before, failed to even prevent any of those breakdowns. The service, once transporting over 1 million passengers annually, has plummeted to just 104,000 in the previous financial year. But what went wrong with this multi-billion rand integrated public transport system? Let's speak to former Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor Retief Odendaal. Mr. Odendaal, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. I know you were only mayor then for, it was less than a year, but you were certainly part of the Nelson Mandela Bay Mayoral Committee, even in finance as well, for quite some time too before that. What went wrong here? Do you mind just sharing the story from the start for us then, and how we got to where we are right now?
Good morning, Arabella, and good morning to the viewers. Well, I think that we need to understand that the integrated bus transit system has been riddled with corruption from the start. And, as far back as about 10 years ago, there were some whistleblowers exposing the level of corruption in the IPTS system. Over the last couple of years, successive administrations tried to get the system back on track. And I want to go so far as to say that, in certain periods under certain coalition partners, certainly under the DA coalitions, we were making progress. The record number of passengers that were in transit in 2022, 2023 was testament to that. But just a year after we were ousted, the entire system collapsed and went from 1.1 million passengers to 100,000 passengers. I want to say that apart from corruption and management issues, it really is the political instability in Nelson Mandela Bay that has led to this project, which is a 4 billion rand project, to collapse. This is the biggest investment national government has made in Nelson Mandela Bay over the last 20 years, I would say, in one specific project. And sadly, it has just come to a grinding halt. You talk about the refurbishment that was made last year. Well, that refurbishment was little more than stickers that were stuck on these passenger buses.
Wow.
And a number of seats that were recovered. No mechanical repairs have been made. No body repairs have been made. And, these buses are also quite aged. They were purchased in 2007, 2008. And although for many years they just stood idle, they're also getting on in life. And what we've been saying is that, it's very clear that we don't have the expertise in Nelson Mandela Bay to turn it around. Let alone the political will. And that's why we need to get expertise from public transportation industry, from a national government, to try and save this project. Otherwise, they're going to have to stop the project in its entirety. And National Treasury has already said then they might even consider clawing back some of the billions invested in the infrastructure here.
That's going to hurt even more, because this is all aimed at trying to ensure that people can travel from one area to another, particularly in the area then of Eastern Cape and Nelson Mandela Bay, particularly here then. Who's to blame? Because you've got a transport system that started in 2010, was made to work for some time, and then stood still up until around 2018 or so. Refurbished or so, and then tried to make work again. But then at some point, only 3 buses are in work. Up until, I think, last month, eventually there was 6 buses, or no more than 6 buses working. Who's to blame for this? Why are they all so bad? Is it just because the buses have broken down? Or are there other issues politically at play here?
Well, I think, one must be clear that it's the political instability that has left Nelson Mandela Bay in this shambles and have eventually derailed this project. Remember the figure. Since 2009, there's been 44 municipal managers in Nelson Mandela Bay. 44. The current municipal manager has been on suspension, earning 200,000 rand a month for the last 21 months.
Wow.
To add insult to injury, for the past 2 years, there has been 5 of the 9 executive directors, which is really the top management of the municipality. Those positions have been vacant, and I think it's well documented how many coalition governments there has been and how many mayors have lost their heads, including my own, through the years here. So this political instability has got a massive impact on delivery in the Bay and on how our projects are managed. I think that over the last 2 years, we've seen how 900 million rand in grant funding has been forfeited to National Treasury because of an inability of the administration to spend that money. So here's the thing. Nelson Mandela Bay needs political stability, needs political leaders that can stabilize the mess in council to be able to ensure that the administration becomes accountable to council, and that our officials are performance managed and made to work in an environment that's stable where they can deliver.
The municipality was allocated 185 million to spend on transport in the 2023-24 financial year. Only 29 million rand was then spent on it. What is the primary issue when it comes to the spending? Is it just an inability to understand what to spend on, or because it just feels like there's money in the kitty that then hasn't been spent here, and that just goes back into government coffers?
Yes, and transferred to other municipalities where they've got an ability to spend this money. The sad reality of this is the fact that a public transportation system like the IPTS and Nelson Mandela Bay, it is meant to connect especially poor communities to opportunities. And the reality is that in this, the government has failed. Compare it to the city of Cape Town that has got the My City IPTS system. They've transferred 19.3 million passengers in 2023-2024 financial year, or the Go George system in a much smaller municipality that has transferred nearly 6 million passengers in the same period. That year, that's now last financial year, 2023-2024, the city only managed to transfer 100,000 passengers, down from a previous record of about 1.1 million. So it's very clear that there is massive problems. And again, I want to highlight the fact that there is no either political leadership, but also administrators with the necessary skills to be able to get this project back on track. It is all mismanagement and maladministration, and not ensuring that where we've got problems, they are identified and dealt with swiftly. It's also a sad reality that, with the brain drain that we've seen out of this municipality, very seldom does our administrators or our politicians put up their hands and say to national government, listen, we need some skills, we need some expertise, we need some help. Sadly, that these days needs to be imposed upon this municipality because they don't want to admit that they failed the people of Nelson Mandela Bay.
What's going to happen from here, do you think, then? I mean, is there a review process? Is there some way of trying to, I don't know, claw back some of the funds, actually revitalize this bus system so it really is fully functional, paying back the repair cost to one of the auto manufacturers who are helping to try and repair these buses as well?
Well, I want to make it clear that we need a reliable public transportation system. We've got no choice. We have to fix it, because if we don't fix it, how poor people going to get to their jobs? But it also needs to be reliable, because we've seen now that the bus service has also been implemented again, and only about 6 of the buses are traveling. It's running empty because people don't have faith in the administration that they will be on time at their jobs. So we need a reliable system. Yes, we need to engage with National Treasury. Indeed, I will make sure that the opposition from our party will be put pressure on national government to be able to bring the expertise needed to get the system back on track. But at the end of the day, it needs to be all hands on deck. And I think that the broader public and the voters of Nelson Mandela Bay also needs to take heed of what has happened in the city over the last couple of years. We can't have this kind of instability. It is what is destroying our municipality, and we've seen it and witnessed it elsewhere in the country as well.
Retief Odendaal, former Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it here, trying to understand just the collapse of that multi-billion rand bus service out of Nelson Mandela Bay, what's happened, where to from here, and why things have gone so awry.